In 2021, FunSpot Atlanta shocked everyone with ArieForce One, a massive RMC IBox coaster. This coaster was set to become one of the best roller coasters of all time. However, ArieForce suffered months of delays because the world and the government hates us, who abuse their powers to make our lives miserable and to steal all our money. Why is this the case? This is the story of ArieForce One. Our story and roast began with our man, John Arie Sr. In 1978, he opened Fun and Wheels in Orlando, Florida, near the world's largest McDonald's. This was a family entertainment center that became a staple of the Orlando community. Then in 1997, John Arie Sr. moved the property up north near Universal Studios, where he rebranded the park as FunSpot America. This is where FunSpot introduced their signature multi-level go-kart tracks. These go-karts are famous because they're wild, out of control, and unstable. In 2004, FunSpot purchased the land surrounding the world's tallest sky coaster down south in Kissimmee near Disney World, where they grew that park to become FunSpot Kissimmee. For the first 35 years, the two FunSpots were known for their arcades and go-karts. This would all change at the Orlando park in 2013. That year, FunSpot Orlando bought 15 acres of land and a $25 million expansion that included a multitude of rides, the most notable being the second tallest sky coaster and White Lightning, the GCI wood coaster. The expansion clearly went well for FunSpot because this would be the catalyst for the multitude of expansions to come. In 2017, FunSpot Kissimmee got their own Woody with Mindblower, the Gravity Group wood coaster with an inversion. That same year, FunSpot purchased Fun Junction south of Atlanta, Georgia. They renamed that park to FunSpot Atlanta, and immediately they thought to bring a new signature attraction, and they would go to a manufacturer that is really popular. In 2001, Silverwood employee Fred Grubb would create Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC for short. Grubb has experience with amusement rides, as he has helped build rides for Silverwood, such as the duo of CCI Woodies, Charmers and Timber Terror, and the Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang, Aftershock. Throughout the first decade, RMC worked on the construction of projects such as El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure and the aforementioned Aftershock at Silverwood. In 2009, though, RMC hired SNS designer Alan Schilke. Having designed some crazy coasters, Schilke and Grubb designed a coaster that would become world class. This coaster would be the IBox coaster. This is a steel coaster that is meant to replace the track and layout of a wood coaster. The first of these was New Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. Converted from the old Din Woody Texas Giant, this coaster was praised for elite pacing and strong ejector airtime. This coaster was so good that 16 IBox coasters were built, but they also made ground-up coasters via their now discontinued topper tracks. The topper track was a wood coaster that replaces the top section of wood with a steel beam to make it a smoother ride. The first was Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City in 2013. This had the qualities that made New Texas Giant great, but with the wooden bite. This is also where they introduced their famous RMC trains with those bulky lap bars and shin guards. 4 topper tracks were built between 2013 and 2016, but after the disaster that was Lightning Rod at Dollywood, RMC decided to use the IBox track for their ground-up projects. The first of these ground-up hybrids was Zadra at Energylandia. Built in 2019, this is a refined layout to become one of the best roller coasters in the world. Seeing the quality of these coasters, FunSpot purchased an IBox coaster. In 2021, FunSpot Atlanta announced their newest coaster would be coming from RMC. Initially, most people thought that this would be the first RMC family coaster, as that was revealed a week before this. But as more of the layout was revealed, enthusiasts realized that this would be one massive coaster. Then at IAAPA 2021 in Orlando, FunSpot and RMC revealed ArieForce One, the layout, and the trains. This would be a massive RMC IBox coaster. Unlike most RMCs that use a wood structure, ArieForce uses a steel structure like the Chain's wooden coaster for easier maintenance in the hot Georgia sun. I'll break down the layout later because I did ride this masterpiece and have some strong thoughts on this coaster. At a cost of $13 million, this would be the largest single investment FunSpot has made to date. Everyone was shocked and excited because nobody expected a ride this large at essentially an FBC, especially since this is FunSpot Atlanta's first major addition under their ownership. ArieForce One was slated to open near the fall of 2022, but like a millennial trying to pay rent, that did not go as planned. See, ArieForce suffered from months of delays because the government refuses to make our lives easy. crazy. But before we address the reason you're here, there are two other factors that contribute to the delay. The first was that RMC had a small construction crew to build the coaster, so construction took longer because they didn't have as many people to build the ride. Another was the supply chain issues going on at the time. This made getting parts for extremely difficult and why Accelerator was closed for over a year. But the biggest issue was that the government was giving FunSpot such a hard time. Now please excuse the very lengthy rant I'm about to go on. Now what does that have to do with ArieForce One? Well, let's set things straight. This is not at a country level. I think they're too busy launching nukes in the Middle East near Iran to be involved with amusement parks. It's also not at the state level, since they'd rather be butting heads on what's allowed to be gay and who's constantly shooting someone. Looking at you, St. Louis. But this is at a county level since they have to get approval from them. And for some reason, Fayette County, the place FunSpot Atlanta is located in, refuses to allow this coaster to open. I don't know why, since ArieForce is the only actual tall structure within a 5-mile radius. And you need permission from the county to get zoning laws, or else you end up with a wildfire situation. That's another RMC ground-up creation in Sweden where the government forced them to shut down wildfire due to the lack of zoning laws. The weird thing with that RMC is that the Swedish government actually allowed Kolmarden to open wildfire, but then those same people forced them to shut it down and almost demolish it. Yeah. Total move in my opinion, but that's a story for another day. To get ArieForce approved, the county forced FunSpot to implement the following. The first was to pave a brand new parking lot. Because FunSpot in its entirety is built on their old parking lot, they currently use a dirt lot for parking. This new parking lot would have made sense if they actually used that parking lot. When I went to FunSpot, they were still using the dirt lot while barely anyone was using the paved lot. The second was more drainage systems. Like that parking lot, that would have made sense if it was used more. I barely saw any bathrooms, water fountains, or sinks here, all of which were in the arcade building. This might have to do with the amount of rain they get in the south. The final order was the removal of their miniature golf course. To be blunt, I have no idea why they had to do that. These bottlenecks caused the park to spend an extra $5 million and months of delays, bolstering the cost to $18 million. Wait, what? You're telling me that ArieForce costs as much as a B&M wing? What the actual heck? I didn't even know a family park like this can afford something like this. As stated by John Arie Jr., and I quote, "Basically, we had to remove one income source to build another," unquote. After months of delays and a slow construction process, ArieForce One opened to the public on March 31st, 2023. Even though the construction for ArieForce One got very messy, the hype for it did not. Throughout the construction, the hype was brewing up as this was anticipated to be one of the best roller coasters in the world. And when the coaster opened, everyone agreed this is a world-class roller coaster. ArieForce One is praised for its elite pacing and strong sustained ejector airtime. Heck, some people find the airtime too much, but we'll address that later. And good news for you nerds, because of the nature of FunSpot Atlanta, ArieForce is always a walk-on, so you can marathon it as much as your heart desires. With all this praise, do I agree with those opinions? I do in fact, because the coaster is worthy of the title for best roller coaster. If not, definitely top 5. For my opinions, let's dissect the layout. Now, unlike my prior videos, let's talk about the theme and queue, because FunSpot actually did a good job dressing up the queue with some theming. The theme is about John Arie Sr.'s obsession with space travel, so the queue is designed to look like an air hangar designed to travel to space. Then the Zero car is designed to look like a paper airplane. The actual trains are good enough by my standards to get the best ride. While the restraints and shin guards are not the best, they're fine for me because they still offer me room for airtime. The actual ride begins with a pre-lift that consists of a dip and 2 bunny hills. Nothing special, but they're the appetizer for what's to come. After which you climb a 155-foot, 47-meter tall lift hill. Like Iron Gwazi and Wildfire, this uses RMC steel truss lift, and also that chain lift is extremely loud. Then you crest your 83-degree drop. While this drop isn't as good as some others I've ridden, it still offers nice air. And this is where you get your 64 miles per hour, 103 kilometers per hour speed. After this is the Raven Truss Dive. This is essentially a dive loop where the entrance is an off-axis hill that morphs into a half loop. While this element is admittedly the weakest, it's still a great element of laterals and hang time. But after this becomes bonkers. The next element is a speed hill that sharply ejects you out of your seat. This is one of the strongest negative Gs I've felt on a roller coaster. Next is America's longest 0G stall. While I've only ridden a handful of stalls, this one is easily my favorite for having the longest hang time. The next is an Outer Bank turn similar to Steel Vengeance or Iron Gwazi. While the hill isn't as tall as those, the profiling still ejects you for several seconds. Coming up next is the best moment on ArieForce, the double up. This back-to-back hill still has plenty of ejector, but the second up has a larger drop that causes sustained ejector airtime, one of the best of all time. After this is the best inversion on the ride, the arcade roll. This is a low to the ground barrel roll that hovers over the arcade. Many compare this to the Mosasaurus roll on Velocicoaster for the combinations of whippy laterals and hang time. Then there's this off-axis hill followed by an intense turn into another low barrel roll. This sequence is intense and filled with laterals. Then we come to the finale. This finale consists of the chili dip, the quad down, and a hop into the brakes. This finale is one of the most intense airtime moments of all time because those tiny hills constantly pop you up out of your seats. This finale is so intense, some people actually find the airtime too much that it hurts. The other problem with the finale is that this causes the brake run to be very short, so the coaster has to come to a very swift stop. This is why the coaster runs with a 5-car train instead of the usual 6 cars you find on other RMCs. The problem is that you're still ejected when you come to a stop, so the brakes combined with the heavy lap bars and shin guards could hurt your thighs, shins, and your nuts if you're a guy. My advice is to hold on to something and brace for the brakes. This is why most people say you need to ride on a wheel seat. This is the opposite on most roller coasters because wheel seats usually give a rougher ride, especially on wood coasters. But since ArieForce is a very smooth coaster, and since the front cars have nothing to hold on to, this has the opposite effect. This completes the 3,400 feet, 1,000 meters of track. Based off the elements I gave, this coaster has great pacing. Each element is created to perfection to make it one of the best roller coasters in the world. And like I said, this coaster is very smooth, one of the smoothest coasters I've ever ridden, so you can ride it without getting any pain. But it is weird that this coaster exists at this park that barely anyone knows about. Speaking of which, I really hope that FunSpot can make back the return on investment on this coaster. ArieForce costs a lot of money, but no one outside of the die-hard coaster fans are coming in droves. The fact that my visit had less people than the Buc-ee's I went to on the way here should really say something. Luckily, their Florida locations are both successful enough to overweigh the cost of this behemoth. But if you want them to continue investing into FunSpot Atlanta, you should come down and pay the $40 wristbands or $12 per ride on this world-class roller coaster. As for me, this is my second favorite roller coaster, wedged between Iron Gwazi and Velocicoaster. But luckily, FunSpot's relationship with RMC seems to be going strong. They've already put their 208 retrack on Mindblower, and FunSpot Orlando is rumored to get one of their Raptor coasters. But I hope ArieForce One pays out for them in the long run. Thank you all so much for watching this video. This video is part of my series where we dive into roller coasters and other amusement rides history and dynamics. If you enjoyed this video, which if you watched to the end it means you did, you can help by giving a like. Also, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. It only takes 5 seconds to do, and that motivates me to make more awesome content just like this in the future. If you yourself don't want to get your money stolen by the government or gang members, it is worth it to press that subscribe button. This is the Coaster Flood, riding out.